What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Modern Mortgage Show, where I interview mortgage professionals who share their stories and modern information about the industry. I'm your host, Rocco, and I'm super excited to introduce my guest. His name is Rick Davis, and he's a loan officer at Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation out of Fishers, Indiana. Rick, welcome to the show.
Rocco, thanks for having me, brother. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. So, Rick, why don't we start off the show? Can you just give us a brief introduction of who you are?
Yeah, so my name is Rick Davis, born and raised in Indianapolis, Indiana. I've been in the mortgage world since August of last year, and I absolutely love it. We're in the middle of some very exciting times right now, and so I think what's cool is just to see the new normal, so to speak. So I got my first home back in 2014. I own mortgages as well as part of my personal investment strategy, and I just love the mortgage side of things.
Absolutely. So you've been a loan officer for about 10 months now?
Yep.
Okay. So what did you do any type of work before you got into the industry?
Yeah, so I graduated college back in 2009 and I entered into the electrical distribution world. So I basically traveled around the Midwest and I would turn around failing businesses. I'd go in and do all the dirty work, man, the hiring, the firing, just all that stuff. And once we got the businesses running smooth, then I'd go on to the next place. So, when you're in your early 20s, it was super exciting. But then as I started to get older, I missed my family, I missed being home. And so I decided to move back home. And after a while, that whole just being the axe man really took a toll on me. I got tired of making those moves, and I decided, you know what, I'm done with it. So I finished up a big project with them, and I quit the company unexpectedly, and I went and traveled the world for about a year, and it was awesome, man. I went all over the place, learned so much about myself and other people, and it was super cool. But at the end of the day, I had to go back and make some more money. So I tried to figure out what I wanted to get into, and I went and did a few different things, and I just kept coming back to real estate. So I hooked up with Fairway actually last year, and it's been a great company to work with, and it's a challenging business. There's no doubt about it, but it's also very rewarding too.
Yeah, definitely. And I see you have some books in the back there. Have you read The 4 Hour Work Week?
I haven't. By Tim Ferriss. I've heard of it, but I have not read that book.
Because he talks about taking like mini retirements, and it sounded like what you did traveling the world. So I thought maybe you read it.
I tell you, it was amazing, and I think it was needed. I burnt myself out, man, and I needed to just kind of recharge the batteries. And I look at it, a lot of people, they wait until they're 70 years old to retire, but then they can't use their body as much when they're in retirement mode. And to do that at 31, 32, it was a blessing, and I loved it, man. I honestly, I hope I do it again in like my 40s.
Definitely. So, and pardon me if you answered this already. So, what made you after this year of traveling? What made you want to get into the mortgage industry again?
Well, so I joined my local real estate investors group for a year, and I got to meet some people that do note investing. And so, you got your fix and flippers, your rental property people, your property management people, that kind of stuff. And there was this quiet group of people in the back of the class that were messing with these real estate notes. And I had no idea what it was. I'd never heard of it before. It really intrigued me. And so I met a guy named Justin Bogard, and I worked under him for a couple of months just to learn the buying and selling process of notes. And it was super cool. I'd much rather work on the number side of things than like wallpaper or figuring out how we're going to knock a wall down and make a room look nicer. So it kind of fit who I was. And so I liked that part of it, but it just wasn't the entire fit yet. And so when I got into the origination side of mortgages, I realized like, hey, this is it. This is what I need to be doing because I really like to serve people. I have to have that part of my core taken care of. And so to guide people through a scary process that they don't know anything about, and to be able to honestly and ethically like give them the loan that makes sense for their goals, it's so rewarding. I love it.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. But something just popped in my head. I see your pictures in the back, and I saw on your Facebook you have like planes and stuff. Do you fly planes?
Yes, I am a private pilot.
So how did you get into that?
Oh, dude, I love it. That's my real passion in life right there is flying. But airplanes don't run on hopes and dreams, man. They run on dollar bills. So I got to figure out a way to make money. I got into flying when I was just a kid. My hometown of Greenwood, Indiana, there's a small airport down there, and it was just so cool when my parents would drive us by that airport, and I'd see the planes buzzing over our head as they'd go into land or to take off. And so I always told myself I wanted to get my pilot's license. And when I was 14 years old, my parents told me, they said, "Hey, if you keep getting A's and B's in school, we'll pay for you to get your pilot's license." And so I started to do that, and it was a great time. But then once I got my driver's license and turned 16, I started living for Friday nights and friends and everything. So I pushed flying off to the side. And it wasn't until my late 20s that I actually picked it back up and started from the beginning and got my pilot's license. And so I've been doing more of that. I actually went wing walking last year, which was pretty cool too.
What is that?
Wing walking is where somebody's flying the plane and the other person like gets out of their seat and goes and walks on the wings.
Oh my.
The guy was doing like flips and barrel rolls and hammerheads. It was
You were walking?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I would never be able to do that.
It was a blast. It was a blast. But what it really boils down to, though, is it was a set of instructions that somebody tells you to do. And if you follow those instructions and you kind of tune out the noise, you can really do some amazing things. And that applies to anything in the world. And so I really like the wing walking story because, you know, I was scared, I was nervous, and there was a lot of noise, but I just stuck to the plan and I stayed calm and I did some really cool stuff.
Well, that's very, very cool. Moving on here. So you're just starting out and we're in a very weird situation as of right now. So what are you doing and what are you guys doing to get past and get through this uncertain period of time?
Yeah, it's a good question. So taking it day by day. So a big thing right now is that the rules are changing every day. You know, from verifications of employment, FICO scores, loan programs, opening or closing, things like that. So it's almost like we're showing up to play a game and the rules change every day. So what's important is that I keep my clients educated. I keep them calm. I keep them focused on the ultimate goal, which is closing the refi or closing a purchase. And sometimes when they're uncertain and they're nervous, you need to be that rock for them, you know?
Absolutely. So, and you did mention that you love to serve people and, you know, help people. What would you say is your favorite part or most rewarding part about your job as a loan officer?
Man, it's almost bittersweet because sometimes when I'm working with clients, I don't get to meet them until closing day, and that's a hello and a goodbye on the same day. I try to make it to as many of my closings as possible, and it's so cool to watch that family get their first home. Or probably one of the coolest loans I've done so far was a couple that they had both been in marriages before, but this was like their second marriage and they were building a new family together. And a couple had lived in this house for like 30 years and they were moving on to their like downsizing home, but they were giving this home to a new family to start over. And it was such a cool experience to watch everybody at the closing table.
Yeah, it's very cool. Everyone has their own little story and you just getting to know them as a loan officer and, you know, you're holding their hand basically throughout the whole process.
Yeah.
So shifting gears here, you're fairly new into the industry. So when you first started out, what were some of your struggles or obstacles you had faced early on?
Oh man. I tell you, in this business, I feel like you really learn your strengths and weaknesses quick. My biggest struggle, and it's still going on today, my biggest struggle is the details. You know, when you're in the software, whatever software, you know, other companies might be using, but there's a million little boxes to check and this and that. And with all the government regulations, if you miss one thing, boom, it could cost your company hundreds or thousands of dollars, right? And so just that uncertainty there, you know, so I've just really been trying to rely on my checklists and then also the people on my team that are older than me that have had more experience. The details have been tough for me though. And it's been a challenge that I haven't had to face in any of my other professional conquests before.
So you think experience and just time will solve that for you?
Yeah, it's like muscle memory, you know. You do something 20, 30, 50, 100 times, you can do it with your eyes closed. I'm just not there yet, so it takes me a little bit longer. So, but that's a struggle that I see on my side. And if I'm doing my job right, my clients never even experience, that struggle that I have.
Absolutely. So if you were talking to yourself 10 months ago, or what advice would you give to yourself to maybe help yourself when you were just starting out a little bit better?
Oh man, I love that question. If I were to give myself advice, knowing what I know now, it would just be accept the fact that you're going to keep showing up the next day. I mean, I'll be honest with you, this has been a tough industry. And if I had $1 for every time I wanted to quit it, I probably would have been retired by now. But I keep on showing up, and it keeps getting easier and easier. A big thing that I sometimes would lose sleep over at first is this is a mortgage. This is sometimes people's biggest investment. And if they don't file their taxes, for example, and they miss their closing date, I can't help that. I can't tell somebody to file their taxes. That's a given. You should do that. But it would bother me at first, So just kind of knowing when to hold on to the pressure of the business and when to just say, you know what, that was out of my control. Like, chill out, go live your life after work, that kind of thing. But I feel like that edge is also what kind of makes me great at whatever I apply myself to, because I really try to pour my whole soul into my craft.
Interesting. Definitely showing up is a big part of the battle. In recent years now, technology in social media and all that has made its way into the mortgage industry and into the whole world, and affected every industry. But how would you say this technology and social media affects you and your business in the mortgage industry?
How does technology and social media affect my business? It's a big source of my leads. So social media, people are always looking to buy or looking for advice, things like that. So I've certainly gotten deals from people off of social media. When somebody needs help out there, you can kind of see it through their questioning or their comments. I always try to educate people. The technology has been able to help me educate people better. Mortgage coach, Dave Savage. I like the guy, man. I've never met him in person, but I like his literature and what he stands for. And being able to show somebody a total cost analysis, being able to show somebody how they can accumulate wealth over the next 20, 30 years, it really helps people understand it. And I really want people to know that it's not just about that interest rate. It's about the whole picture. And technology helps with that.
Absolutely. And you mentioned social media is one of the main sources you get leads. So what modern strategies are you using to get more leads, or even just organize your business and systemize it?
Well, my thing with leads, I really don't want all my leads coming from one source. I want to pull from different buckets. So I have real estate agents I work with. I don't work with a ton. I just work with a select few, but we are all in together, Social media, social survey is something where when a client gives me a good survey, it will automatically send it out on my social media platforms. And it just kind of helps build rapport. I think people want to see that not only is that person talking about mortgages, but 30 other people just said, hey, look, he's really good at what he does. I think that's important. Also, too, just like from a CRM standpoint, I think it's important to have an automation there, so then you can follow up on your leads. Maybe if somebody's not buying this month, 4 months from now, they might be buying, and you need to stay top of mind with that person.
What CRM do you use?
I use Motivator.
Okay. Is that just a CRM that Fairway uses?
So Fairway has a few different options for people, I believe.
Okay.
It's something that a lot of people on my team have used before I got into the industry. And I tell you, I'm just a big fan of, like, if somebody's really successful, I'm just going to do what they do at first. And then from there, I might make changes, but I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. Especially since I kind of struggle with technology anyways. I'm not the guy that's going to be a cutting edge technology person.
Yeah. And you mentioned, staying in front of your clients, and you have those campaigns set up. Is that in the CRM, the drip campaigns you have set up? Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely important to stay top of mind, because not everyone's ready to buy in a month. We both know how real estate and mortgage works, but the good thing is just, staying in front of them and continue to follow up. So if you could make a prediction or offer any, anything to this question, where do you see all of this going in the future in terms of technology and social media in the mortgage industry specifically?
There's a guy named Jeff Arthur that's been teaching me a lot about things, and he said, this industry is so complicated, and we want it that way because it keeps the robots at bay. And I love that, man. It's stuck out. And like, if mortgages were super easy, we would have already automated it. You go to McDonald's, there's nobody there taking your money anymore. They got a computer doing it. Mortgages, thankfully, are so complicated that we haven't figured out a way to automate that entire system, because my industry would be gone, or it'd be changed drastically. So I think where I see things going is I see the retail side of things, like Fairway, doing great right now. The brokers are kind of struggling with the situation at hand. But I think technology is just going to be something that, if you don't continue to use technology, sooner or later, you're going to be left out in the cold.
Yeah, it's crucial to adapt, and like you mentioned, keeps the robots at bay. There's definitely always going to be human touch and element to it. The tasks are going to be automated, but it's just for the better, to make streamline tasks and make things more efficient. But I agree with you. There's always going to be that human touch to it. And let's go to the buyer side now. Just a few more questions. So what do you see as the biggest misconception or fear, because this is the biggest investment most people make, that your clients have before working with you?
Their biggest fear is that they're going to get screwed on a deal. That's the thing about it. Like, taking, again, the food industry, if you go and have a meal at a place and it's a bad experience, well, guess what? You're eating tomorrow. You can go pick a different place. But a mortgage, you might only get 2 to 3 mortgages in your whole lifetime. And people have a big fear of making a bad deal for themselves. So what I try to do to help people with that is share my own experiences. I've had some good real estate deals. I've had some bad ones. I've seen some good ones. I've seen some bad ones. So being able to help people with that. But I really do like asking people that question, like, what scares you the most about this process? And then we kind of work it backwards from there.
Yeah, that's crucial to educate them and hold their hand throughout the process and advise them. Do you work with a lot of first-time buyers?
I do.
Okay, what's the number one most asked question that you receive from them?
What's your interest rate?
That's I get that answer a lot when I ask that question. What's the rate?
Well, Rocco, I think we should break down why we get asked that question. Like, have you ever wondered why society is just trained to ask that one question first?
Well, I think they think it's the most important thing is the rate.
Yeah, and it's all they've been trained to hear is just this one number. You've got like 20 pages worth of documents, and they're asking this one number. And I really feel like, and I'm going to just say the man, okay? I really feel like the man just wants you to look at that one number, because there's so many other things that really make up your deal. And if you're not careful, your dollars will walk away from you if you're looking at just that one number. So it's my favorite question to be asked, actually, because I always pivot it with, okay, well, how many points did you pay to get that rate? And 99% of the time, people don't even know if they paid points. When I bought my first house, I don't know if I paid points. I don't even have the paperwork. That's sad. It really is. And so when I'm working with these first-time home buyers, I educate them on that, and I explain some of the things that I did wrong. And I'm like, look, let's look at this whole thing. Somebody might say, hey, I'm going to be in this house for 10 years. I thought I was going to be in my first house forever. I sold it in 2.5 years. So I try to look at, like, okay, what they say they want to do, but then let's look at the facts. If you're a first-time home buyer, you're probably only going to stay in the house for 3 to 5 years. So let's not make a deal here where you pay so much in points to get that cheap interest rate, because it might take you 8 years to capitalize on that extra investment of buying down your rate. So I really try to coach people on that. And I think through doing that, they get educated on the process. They can share that information with their friends. They feel more comfortable about what they're doing. And then ultimately they come back to me, hopefully, or they refer me over to their friends and family.
Awesome. Well, Rick, just from being in the industry for such a short period of time, you seem very, very knowledgeable. Just from talking with you, I had a great time speaking with you, and I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Rocco. I appreciate it.
And thank you to all the viewers for watching. We'll see you next time.